Hey, welcome to the channel. We hope that you enjoy today's stories and check out the chapters on the video to see all the stories for today. But before we get into this video, subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon to get notified when we release a new video. So let's get into the video.
I met a military veteran that died, but no one believed me. So, for context, I am in the Navy. I work occasional security at Naval Base Ventura County. I say occasionally as I am more of an auxiliary type of help to man security at the gates or ECPs, and security is not my primary job. Anyways, one of the gates was recently renamed after Eric L. Knott. He was a CB, or Navy construction worker, who was killed by enemy mortar fire in Fallujah in 2004. That's all I knew about it. He was a young guy who died, and it was named in honor of him. But then I heard something else. His unit was Naval Mobile Construction Battalion 4, or NMCB-4 for short. That unit is garrisoned in that base when not deployed. While standing the night shift on a Saturday night, me, a CB from NMCB-4, and a third unimportant person were shifted at Knott Gate. 3 o'clock pulls around, and there is not a soul in sight. Not even the occasional car driving through the intersection. We are all struggling to stay awake when a car's headlights partially blinded us. I step out to greet the driver and check his credentials. His credential and ID card looked legit, and I noticed he had the same last name as the gate, Knott. Looked up at him to kind of make a little joke about it, and I was greeted by a pale cold stare. I don't know if my mind is playing tricks on me, or if I was just tired, but he was wearing a uniform that would have only been worn in the early 2000s. I could barely speak, and he didn't move a muscle. I finally choked up saying that he can go, and while he lowered his card, he didn't look away from me while he drove. I thought it was odd and creepy, and I mentioned it to the other sentries in the shack. The dude with NMCB foretold me, and a legend has it, but I don't believe it kind of way, that Eric Knott wasn't supposed to die that day in Fallujah. He didn't know the specifics, but the rumor was that the command he was with messed up, and his spirit will sometimes come to scoff at the gate they named after him to try and make up for his mistake. When he showed me a picture of Eric Knott, my heart sank. All I could choke up was that was the freaking dude. He didn't believe me, of course, and was convinced I was just tired. But now every time I have to man the watch at Knott Gate, I just hope that Petty Officer Knott won't decide to come through. It's only happened once, and everyone kind of laughs it off. I do too, but inside I believe I saw him, still angry at his superiors for letting him die.
Haunted Storage Facilities Part 1. So, I worked in self-storage for almost 9 years. Over the years, I bounced from location to location. I can confidently say 2 of the locations were haunted. When it comes to storage, you have all kinds of stuff in there. Old stuff, new stuff, sentimental items, etc. I have seen shadows and heard disembodied voices. I have also had sudden feelings of general uneasiness, or like I was being watched/followed. The first crazy experience I had was at the first storage company I worked for. It was a 4-story building. The upper levels had no windows. The facility had about 700 units. Typically, storage facilities only have 2 employees working at a time, or 2 employees in total. The building could be creepy at times, especially if you were alone. My manager and I would hear noises like people were moving boxes upstairs when no one else would be in the building. This experience was in 2013. Some 3 days I would have to work alone, which made walkthroughs creepy. My mom lived around the corner, so sometimes I would have her stop by and walk with me. Just some background, we had a customer who was homeless and had schizophrenia. He openly told us he had it. Oftentimes we would see him talking to himself. Some days he would be pleasant, other days he would be very agitated/erratic. He was harmless and we were very used to him. His unit was on the 2nd floor. He would come and go about twice a day. So, this day in particular, my mom and I started the 30-minute walkthrough. We got to the 2nd floor, and immediately after stepping off the elevator, we both heard a man talking. It was loud, but we could not make out words. We immediately looked at each other and I told my mom it was our customer. Didn't think twice about it. I figured we were passing the second floor and just going to the third. Afterwards, when I got back to my office, I looked at our security system. No one had been in the building but us. In order to get to the second floor, you would need to put your access code into the front door and again in the elevator. You also would need a code to go down the elevator. I then looked at the cameras just to be sure. No one had been in our building in over 2 hours. It was physically impossible that someone had made it up there without being on camera, let alone on the access system. We had no radio/speakers either. We hear a distinct man's voice like he was on one side of a conversation. What freaks me out the most is that it was so real that I didn't doubt it was a customer for a split second. It wasn't until after the fact that everything changed. Haunted Storage Facilities Part 2. Just some background. I worked for almost 9 years in the self-storage industry and have had my fair share of weird experiences. I honestly believe at least 2 of the facilities I worked at were haunted. The stories I'm about to tell take place at the last facility I worked at. Between the years 2018 and 2021. It was a brand new build. Located in Naples, Florida. The facility was mostly an indoor, 3-story building. Roughly 800 units. When I started at the facility in late 2018, I was excited because it was my first property as a general manager. I was given the shiny new penny of the district. About a week into my position, I was doing my daily walkthrough. There were no customers on site, just the other manager in the office. I was on the second floor, in the back hallway. The second floor had 3 aisles running parallel longways, about 300 feet. I was walking down that back aisle when I saw a shadow pass across the wall at the end. I tried to brush it off. Another week went by, and I started to get those feelings again. Similar to the first storage facility I worked at. I told my assistant manager who was there from opening day, she was also my friend. Turns out, she and the old manager talked about how weird the facility was. They would hear and see shadows. One thing that I still can't figure out though. She told me that when they opened, she had to clean all the units. Construction cleanup and whatnot. On the second floor, and I kid you not, she found what she believed to be the remains of smudging sage. She said it freaked her out. If it really was smudging sage, I like to believe it was just some customer who believed in removing negative vibes from their stuff with crystals and crap. Like, New Age spirituality. I can make another part going into detail about the experiences we had there. There is a lot.
Do you like listening to these stories? Do you want to hear more of them? Then click that like button, subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. And check the description for links to more videos and interesting stories.
Haunted Storage Facilities Part 3. The stories I'm about to tell take place at the last facility I worked at. Between the years 2018 and 2021. It was a brand new build. Located in Naples, Florida. The facility was mostly an indoor, 3-story building. Roughly 800 units. The experiences I and others have had took place in one specific area of the facility. The second floor had 3 main aisles that all ran parallel to each other from one end of the building to the other, approximately 300 feet each in length. I had an assistant manager in the summer of 2019. I did not fill her in on any of the weird experiences. This is something we typically did not do. New hires or teammates would bring up their experiences sooner or later. It did not take long before she started asking questions. She said she would hear noises, see things out of the corner of her eye, and get a general sense of unease in the second floor back hallway in particular. Then one day, she told me about an experience that scared the hell out of me. On Sundays we were only open from 11 to 3, with single coverage. Employees would be scheduled Sundays and would come in at 9 to have 2 hours before opening to get things done around the facility. On this Sunday she was walking with the janitor cart on the second floor. No one was in the building but her. She passed the back hallway and saw a woman standing halfway down the aisle facing a unit. She honestly didn't think anything of it. After a few seconds, she realized the motion sensor lights down that row were off. There were lights at the other end of the building, so the hallway was not completely black. If a customer had been down there, the lights would have been triggered to come on. She told me at this moment her heart sank, and she quickly stepped back to look down the hallway, and there was no one there. She said she grabbed the cart and rushed back downstairs. No one was at the facility. No one had been in the building but her. She didn't go to the second floor for the rest of the day and wouldn't go alone the day after. She described the woman. She was just standing still, facing a unit. She could tell she had long hair, but that was it. Soon after, she began to experience feelings of dread on the second floor and would not go up there alone. Being in that back hallway would trigger panic attacks. She would have tightness in her chest and even hyperventilate. She quit a couple of months later. While there were management-related reasons for her leaving, she told me that the experiences she was having did not help matters any. She had to get away. I also had my fair share of experiences in that hallway. One time I heard two female voices while walking down that hallway. I was alone in the building. The activity got so consistent that me and my assistant manager, not the one mentioned above, would only do the second floor portion of the walkthrough together. We would bother hear noises. There was a time we were walking, and she had one earbud in, listening to music. We were in the front hallway. Suddenly, I hear a thud. It sounded like someone dropped a bowling ball. The noise came from the back aisle. At that very second, her music stopped playing. She couldn't figure out why the music stopped, let alone why it was at the exact moment I heard the thud. Just weird. During this period of time, we had multiple complaints from a customer on the second floor. All of them wanted us to know that someone was living on the second floor, as they heard shuffling and noise coming from the back aisle. Believe me when I say there was absolutely no one living / sleeping / hanging out on the second floor or in the entire building. We would just thank them for letting us know and move on. Weird stuff.
It was really scary and annoying. So, this was about 10 or 15 years ago. The timeline is really fuzzy for repressed memories reasons, but it was back when I was a teenager living with my mom because my dad had kicked me out for weed. I regret nothing, lol. My younger sister was living with our mom because for her she was the preferred parent, and my older brother was off in the military, so we were a widely separated family. It was a smaller house. It had a second floor, which was the biggest room, but had a total of 3 bedrooms, the master bedroom, the front bedroom, and towards the back of the house I called it the guest room. That was going to be mine. I was in my junior year of high school, and my mom had a specific set of rules. No drugs or alcohol, no company of any kind with the door closed, and no loud noises. I wasn't a bad kid. I smoked a lot, sure, and oftentimes not. I would lie to avoid trouble, but I wasn't bad, but the opinion of my parents was not very favorable towards me. The first few nights were quiet. My sister liked to sleepwalk, and I would hear from down the hall, but funny enough, it's not relevant to my experience. About maybe 2 weeks or so, I didn't experience anything, but the following night was one of the worst nights of my life. I was sleeping like a rock. Nothing was going to wake me up. But all of a sudden, I get jolted awake by something with a good amount of force, tugging on me from my ankles and pulling half down my bed. Now I was and still am a big guy, heavy and lean, and it would take a lot of strength to do something like that to me, but it freaked me the hell out. I was like 14 or 15 years old, and I couldn't help but cry because it was just something I couldn't explain or comprehend. And from there it was consistent. I was telling my mom, and since she really didn't want me there, she just blew me off, so this experience sent me through a spiral of depression and anxiety. I couldn't sleep for days upon days because I knew it would happen again. There's no prior history to the house or anything I've looked at, maybe not hard enough, but I did. It was well close to the end of my junior year, and it was still going on. It all started, I'd say, about a month after the start of second semester of that year. One night it happened again, and it left me hopeless, and I just screamed, "For the love of God, please stop! I can't do this anymore. And the reaction to this one sentence was horrifying. This entity or whatever just rattled my door almost off its hinges, and I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. I slept upstairs from there on out. My mom would usually tell me to go back to my room whenever she'd find me somewhere else sleeping, but after that, I didn't budge. Hell, I barely spoke a word. But it's something I'll never forget. Whenever I think about it, I just cry, and my partner has to calm me down. Most nights I can't sleep, and heavy doses of melatonin to sleep.
We hope you enjoyed listening to today's stories. If you want to see more stories, check out these videos or check the links in the description for more videos. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And ring that notification bell.